So we're just gonna wait a little to see if someone found us here. Anyway, this is a tryout, and we hope that you can hear us, even though it's kind of windy. I'm sitting here with someone that can introduce himself. Actually, please do.
Hi folks, my name is Alex Hearn and I'm the lead scientist on this expedition that is just finishing up now.
And for you who doesn't know me, I'm a film and photo journalist, fellow explorer, ocean advocate, both of us. And I'm the founder of the Fragile Hope global movement and initiative. And we're trying this now for the first time, and it's up to you to let us know what you think. And we're going to wave a little here as well.
Do some real waves too?
Yeah, we can. Hello, Matthias and Niklas and Disney. Yes, it's a lot of people here. Guys, I'm going to kick this off by asking my partner in crime here. He spent a lot of time and years to research and study sharks in the Galapagos and beyond. And I want to know, Alex, what's the most surprising or unexpected thing you've learned about shark behavior during your research?
Well, I think I've learned a lot of things. Mostly I've learned always to be surprised. They never quite do or act the way you expect them to. One of the things we learned was that, so here in Galapagos every year we have a procession of large female whale sharks with distended bellies, and we always thought they may be coming to Galapagos for reproductive reasons, and we were able to develop a partnership as part of the Galapagos Whale Shark Project with partners in Okinawa to do the first ever ultrasounds of whale sharks underwater, and we found no evidence of pregnancy, and I think that's the beauty of sharks. They always prove you wrong, so you're always kind of on the back foot, always learning. The other thing that did surprise us, that's more related to the work we're doing now, is that the sharks that we have here in Galapagos are the same sharks that we have in Cocos, 600 kilometers away, which belongs to Costa Rica, and they migrate between Galapagos and Cocos, and that's very important to know for conservation reasons too.
Hi guys, and welcome in. Please write a comment or question in the comment field. You can ask away if you want to. Meanwhile, I can ask you one more thing.
Sure.
This trip, the main thing, the most important thing of this trip expedition, what is that?
This expedition we just did now was to outside the Galapagos Marine Reserve to a seamount called Paramount. This is the only shallow seamount between Galapagos and Ecuador's maritime border with Costa Rica. When I say shallow, it's still pretty deep. The shallowest point is about 150 meters deep. So this is not something we can dive on. But seamounts are very important because they aggregate life, and we believe that the sharks that are migrating between Galapagos and Cocos use seamounts as stepping stones. So the reason we were doing this trip was to catch and tag sharks, to track their movements, and also to understand what is the biological community around the seamount. Hopefully to protect it in the future if the science points in that direction.
And we got our first question. It says, hello you both. My first question to ask you, where did you both meet each other? Gretchen. Oh my god, yeah, that's it. That's a secret story actually. No, we met in a bus booth in Panama.
And Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. And I was thinking, I wonder who this is.
We both had dive bags, and so we were looking at each other. Are you here to dive in Cocos? Oh yeah, are you here to dive in Cocos too? And it turns out we were on the same trip to go diving in Cocos Island, again for research and conservation reasons.
That was 5 years ago, and we've been brothers from another mother since then. Okay, we have one from Johan Erhag, and Johan Erhag is my old boss from Swedish TV. Hi Johan! How are the sharks affected by the climate change? That's your question.
Well, so there's 5 500 species of sharks and another 700 species of rays, and each one will be affected differently. In particular, some of the sharks whose juveniles have coastal nursery grounds can be affected by rising temperatures, lower oxygen, and also habitat loss. But to be honest with you, I would say that if we cannot solve the problem of fishing for sharks, climate change ain't going to matter anymore, because there won't be any sharks left. The biggest threat right now to sharks is fishing, both directed and as bycatch.
Any more questions? Make your finger glow. We're sitting here for 10 more minutes. Do you have a question?
I have a question, yeah. So, what is the main species of sharks that you guys have in Sweden?
Oh wow, the main species of shark we have in Sweden should be the spiny dogfish.
Okay.
You said that?
Uh-huh.
And it's a bottom dwelling. I actually don't know the English name for it. It's a little high red spotted tooth shark.
Okay.
Red spotted, yeah, I don't know the English word.
Because you also have chimeras that are the cousins of sharks that come up from the deep, right?
Yes, we have them on the Swedish west coast, but most on the Norwegian
Okay.
coast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but in our oceans.
That I'm so grateful for your work. I think we're grateful for the opportunity to work in places like this. I mean, I don't think there's a single moment that we don't recognize that being able to work in places like Galapagos is a privilege, and with that privilege comes a lot of responsibility too.
Hi, HopeSpot Gotland. This is a good question. And for you then, Alex, how much of the waters in your area is protected by marine reserve?
So Ecuador right now is protecting 19% of its national waters. We have about 1 million square kilometers of ocean, which is actually 5 times bigger than our area of land. The biggest marine reserve is here, the Galapagos Marine Reserve, which is about 140,000 square kilometers. And then in 2022, we created another 60,000 square kilometers called Hermandad, which protects this migratory route between Galapagos and Ecuador's border with Costa Rica. Unfortunately, this seamount that we visited, Paramount, was left out of that marine reserve. And so one of the things that we hope in the future is that it can be incorporated. But yeah, 19% so far.
We have a question here. I have to go up a little. Do you much work off the Northwest Pacific coast in Oregon and Washington parts?
I actually spent a decade in Northern California, working more on looking at migratory patterns of salmon and sturgeon, but mostly that was in river systems, in the Sacramento River. And just a shout out to the people of Southern California and LA at the moment. I know they're going through some terrible times with the fires, and really my heart goes out to everyone there.
Yes. I have more questions here. Are you using a special digital tool instrument to track where the sharks are moving to or for locating?
Yeah. I would love to be able to show you one of our tags, but this trip was such a success that we don't have any left because they're all on sharks at the moment. But essentially that's absolutely right. We have a satellite pinger, essentially, which has a special code which we attach to the fin of the shark. And when sharks are knifing with their fin out at the surface, that sends transmission to a satellite network, and then they send the position to us, so we can literally see whenever the shark is at the surface where it is, and we can join the dots and look at where it's been moving to. Yeah.
Here, what is the most unusual shark behavior you witnessed?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think a really cool behavior that I saw, and luckily I wasn't alone because I don't think anyone else would have believed me. It was one night, we were in a little dinghy and we saw a silky shark and a dolphin outlined in bioluminescence, hunting together, one on top of the other. And you could tell it was different species because the dolphin tail goes up and down, the shark goes from side to side. And they were hunting in the water, and because of the bioluminescence, you could really tell what they were doing. So as an example, now I don't know whether they were collaborating or competing, competing, but the visuals were absolutely stunning. Beautiful.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Here comes one more. Where will you both be doing your next expedition? And I think for me it will be Greece, in Greece, and for you it will be...
Well, my next expedition will be back here in Galapagos in March. We're going to be looking for whale sharks in the south of the island. But I was thinking, when will our next expedition be together?
Yes, and we actually been talking about it, and we have some really big plans, but we cannot really reveal. We cannot reveal that.
We'd have to kill you. Yeah.
But yeah, so you can't say that. No, he won't. He won't. He won't come sneaking when you're sleeping. Never. Do you have any more? Any more? God bless you for all that you do.
There was one before that. How big is the problem of fishing sharks in the area? Okay, so here in Galapagos, all sharks are protected. And any fishing gear that is harmful to sharks, such as long lining, is banned. Now, there is some illegal fishing, but if you compare now to what it was in the past, I think a lot of the reason we still have these large populations of sharks in Galapagos is because of those regulations. In the mid-90s, we had industrial longliners plowing up and down here, and that's all gone now. So there is a little bit of illegal fishing. We do have a National Park Service that work hand in hand with the Armada, with the Navy, to detain that. And occasionally we have external fishers coming into the reserve. But again, it's pretty well policed. We did an analysis back in 2019 of how the industrial fishery had changed its behavior, and we were pretty pleased with the results. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. The problem, of course, sorry, just to continue, is that the sharks don't know where the boundaries are. So the sharks leave the marine reserve, and then we have a problem because Ecuador doesn't recognize a shark fishery. But if you catch a shark by accident, then you can land it. So as you can imagine, that is a big loophole. And so our concern is that the species we're protecting inside these waters, once they leave, then they're unprotected. And that's the reason we're working outside the waters now to just look at where we can identify other hotspots or other migratory routes to help strengthen that protection.
I have to say that before we continue with that, I saw there are some ways we can bring back to Sweden, or I can bring, when it comes to sustainable fishing practices, and actually change the whole perspective of how you see seafood. This is something that we need to learn in Sweden, at least in Europe, and we will talk about that more later on. God bless you both. Thank you. Are your trips funded?
Well, that's a very good question. Funding is always a challenge. Luckily, I am part of the Mission Blue Galapagos Hope Spot Champions. So when Mission Blue designates a site as a Hope Spot, normally you have someone who's the Mission Blue Hope Spot champion. In this case, in Galapagos, we have two champions. The other one is on this boat too. He's a local fisherman and does a lot of work trying to improve responsible fishing and sustainable fishing practices. We've worked together for years, and so this particular trip is funded largely through Mission Blue for the Hope Spot. It's also supported by the Galapagos Conservation Trust, who are based out of the UK and are dedicated specifically to protecting Galapagos, and also to the university I work with. We have some internal funds, Universidad San Francisco de Quito, and then finally the shark tracking work is funded by the Bezos Earth Foundation, which we have a huge project through a group called Migramar, which I belong to really think regionally. So beyond the Galapagos, how are the movements of these threatened animals, in my case sharks, but also turtles, seabirds, cetaceans, and how can we use what we know about the ecology of these species to better protect the region. So there's several layers of funding, because each funder has their own kind of interest. And our job as scientists is to put together the research packages that address all those different questions. The need for food sources. So that's really interesting. Why is it that these animals move around? And like I said earlier with the whale shark, we thought it was reproductive, and now I don't think it's that. Now I think they're migrating between different food grounds. There is a seasonal pattern to it. With the scalloped hammerhead sharks, which we're studying now, we tend to find that there's not so many of them in Galapagos, in the northern islands of Galapagos, where we were a few days ago, between about February and June. And that coincides with some animals that we've tagged moving to Cocos Island and beyond. So, and not just females, so males as well. So it's not necessarily a reproductive movement. It could well have to do with food availability. But one of the other things that we do have in the south of the islands is we tend to get very large black-tip sharks, and then the pupping grounds, right? So we think those are pregnant. We find the pups appear around February in the bays of the Central Archipelago. So it depends a little on the species. But yes, a lot of it will be seasonal food availability, and some of it may have to do with reproductive behavior. We're still learning. They're still teaching us.
Guys, pop your question. We sit here for 2 more minutes.
We're coming up to one of my favorite dive spots here.
What's special with that?
That's it's called Cousins Rock. It's actually, if any of you ever visit Galapagos Islands and you stay in Santa Cruz, you can probably visit this on a day trip. The water is slightly colder, but I saw my first ever oceanic manta at this site, and also my first ever Pacific seahorses. So it's a site that's kind of special for me. And actually, on the rock itself, you sometimes see the endemic Galapagos hawk. And I'm a big bird watcher. So again, my bird watching part of my brain is always satisfied when I'm around here.
We have a question. No, it wasn't a question, but it was nicely written. Okay.
So after these trips, you know, the field work is only one part of it. Once we get home, we're going to be tracking those sharks that we tagged by satellite, collecting all that data. We have to process all the videos of all the underwater cameras that we've been deploying, and then we have to analyze that data and obviously write the report and then see what our findings, see what the science tells us in terms of what our advice should be in terms of conservation measures.
So I have a question. This specific expedition, how do you see it? Has it been a success, or has it been a downfall, or what is this?
That's a good question, because I would say there's two layers to success on a tagging trip. And let's take the tagging separately. One thing is, were you able to get your tags on the sharks? And in this case, it was beyond our wildest dreams. We tagged 10 hammerhead sharks in 3 days. We tagged 4 thresher sharks, which are endangered species here. So that's one bit. The second bit is what we will learn over the next few months. How long are those tags going to stay on? How much data are we actually going to get from them? And so now's the nervous bit. And then in terms of the camera work, that's a success already. And now we have some hard work to process the data. In fact, show some of my field and data analysts there working hard. Yeah. So they're taking a break. They've spent a lot of hard days out in very rough water, deploying these underwater cameras, making sure everything's connected up, everything's charged up, downloading the data, everything's organized. And when they get back, they have a lot of work to do, also processing the videos and analyzing the data. So they're taking some very well-deserved rest time. And I'd just like to point out that my student Nikki is wearing a Barcelona t-shirt, which is always appreciated. Best team in the world.
Well, we can discuss that later, but here's a question. Are you going to be doing any specific special with turtles?
I don't work with turtles specifically because I have colleagues that are experts in that field. One of the reasons that the new Hermandad Reserve was created is because post-nesting leatherback turtles, which are critically endangered. They're down in this part of the East Pacific. They're down to less than 5% of their virgin biomass. They migrate along that area after they've nested. So we're hoping that the conservation measures will help protect them. But in terms of doing research, there are great groups here in the region, here in Galapagos, but also on mainland Ecuador and in Costa Rica, who are doing really good work there. So we collaborate, we share our data, and then we pool everything in this Migramar network so we can look at multi-species analyses.
So we agree on that this has been a success. What has been most challenging on this trip, except sharing cabin with me?
Well, I don't know. I snore more than you do, man. I don't know. I think it was challenging. We expected to have an ocean like this because it's January, and Paramount was not generous to us in terms of the condition. So it was rough. It was difficult to work, especially the first couple of days. And again, I'm really grateful to have a team that they don't let those kind of things get the better of them, and they just work through it. So yeah, unfortunately with the ocean, you get what you get, and you work with what you have.
For me, the most challenging thing on this trip is that the current is ripping, and having that kind of big camera that I have when I'm filming underwater, it's like running with an umbrella against a storm. So it's very tricky to actually, and if you do not fight the current, you will be swept out at sea and disappear. So you have to be very careful, and that has been the most challenging thing for me. Otherwise than that, I saw a question here with dolphins. Yeah, we've been seeing, dolphins. I never ever seen so many dolphins in my whole life, and we every day, back and forth to the location where we've been tagging sharks. We've been escorted by hundreds of dolphins every day. It's thousands of them, and I've never seen anything like it ever before.
And there was that little one about the size of a shoe.
Yeah,
incredible. The tiniest little dolphin you can imagine, jumping out of the water. I mean, we were truly blessed. I know the sea was rough, but oh wow,
yeah.
Wow.
Emma Oderberg here. What is the dream situation, hope or goal?
Well, I think I think if the data bears out what we think, which is that Paramount is a hotspot for biological diversity and a key connection point with Galapagos, then I think the goal would be to protect that.
Okay, guys. Now we've been almost a half an hour.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching this. Really fun to see as many as a lot of people just waving and ask questions and stuff. But we have to go because we have other things to do.
Places to go.
Places to go. So we're gonna love you and leave you. It's a friend who used to say that, but I steal that from him. And hope to see you later.
And we hope to produce a documentary out of this expedition, which you guys can see once it's ready, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good. Where is it for? Who is it for, and what?
Well, I guess we'll just have to give more information as it comes out, right? But yeah, we hope to produce something, a visual of all the work we did and the reasons why, with including some of the results. In the next few months. So watch this space.
Yes. Have a good night. Have a good day wherever you are in the world. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.